Hey guys, Alan from Hack Gadgets here. Today is review day. We're going to be taking a look at the Zetta Z12 Intelligent Security Camcorder. And thanks a lot to the great guys over at SpyTech for setting this in. Let's head over to the bench and take a look. Okay, so here's the box. This again is the Zetta Z12 Intelligent Security Camcorder. There's a picture of the guy. It's a multi-trigger long-time recording device. Well, that's pretty cool. Comes with a 13-month warranty. Here's some typical applications: car security, driving recording, shop security, home surveillance. And here we have some of the default applications. So motion trigger recording, that's typically if there's a number of pixels that change on the screen from default, it will activate. Vibration trigger, so I'm assuming there's a vibration sensor on the inside which will detect vibration and then start recording. 8 hours of continuous battery recording, so it sounds like there's a great battery inside. More than 3 months of standby, so that's telling us that the standby mode is actually fairly easy on the batteries to be able to make it last 3 months. I'm not sure how long it'll actually record after 3 months. Maybe after 3 months it's pretty much done. I'm not sure about that one. It has a circular recording mode, so that's generally if you have this mounted in, let's say, a car and it's mounted on the dash. If you have an accident, you'll have the last, let's say if your card can record for 2 hours, you'll have the last 2 hours of recording. And then we have the multi-auto on-off mode. I have no idea what that is. Maybe some sort of user programmable mode. And it says they can change things without notice. Standard thing. System requirements. Okay, so we have to have, Windows. Pretty much any version of Windows. 2000 XP, Vista 7, Windows Media Player 9 or above we need. We need a USB 2.0 port. I don't think we have any computers made nowadays with a USB 1, so pretty much if you have a USB port you're good to go. And there we go, we got some standard labeling down there. Okay, so let's open up the box and see what we have inside. Okay, here's some technical support information right on the front cover here. And it tells us what we should have inside. So we have a 5-volt adapter, 5-volt car adapter, USB 2.0 cable, and a quick start guide. Okay, there we go, box is empty. So we got some paper information here. Hopefully we have some English. Okay, so this guide is not in English. We got one more here. Okay, this looks a lot better. Here we got some English on this one. So this looks to be, yeah, this is identical except this is the English version. Well, that's really good. I actually prefer this. This is all English, so instead of thumbing through a manual that has a wide variety of languages, we just have one here which we have to look at. Okay, so the standard congratulations, etc., etc. And it tells us how to charge it, how to record it. It tells us how to look at these status lights. And like a lot of these small recorders, there's not going to be a screen on it. So it'll tell us what mode it's in by flashing lights and that sort of thing. And then we have some indications here of some, obviously we're going to have some buttons and some different modes that are going to be shown to us with flashing lights here. Okay, and we have on one side a card slot and a USB port. And again, it tells us what's inside the box here, which is the same as what was on the flap. And again, we have the minimum system requirements, which appear to be the same as on the box. Okay, so let's see what's on the back side here first of all. Okay, so this tells us about the mode switch, and it tells us about the resolution. So it looks like the resolution here, which is the second line here. In surveillance mode, it's 320 by 240, and on the go, and there's a custom mode, it's 640 by 480. Okay, and then there's a whole bunch of different items. It says mic here, enabled, so obviously there's going to be a mic built into this, which is nice. Okay, vibration trigger, standby. Okay, so it tells us all about the different modes. PC software widget, so it sounds like we can do some customization. That's probably that last mode that was on the box here. Where was it? Possibly this last mode here is programmed through a widget. We'll look at this at some more details. Let's just finish looking at what's in the box here. Okay, so we got some cardboard. We have a large box. We have a small box. Let's take a look at the accessories first. Okay, so we have some staticky stuff. So okay, so here is our car charger. So little LED light here, 5-volt USB, and what do we have? Input is 12 volt to 24 volt, and our output is half an amp at 5 volts. Okay, I'll put that aside. We've got a bag of cables here. Okay, so this is our typical USB computer port to a USB jack for the device. Okay. Then we have this guy. What is this? Okay, so this is the actual device itself. Put that aside for now. What's in the last box here? And this is the adapter. I was thinking the other box was the adapter, but okay, so the adapter is USB. And what type of power does this one have? Let's see if we can focus on this. Okay, AC adapter, output 5 volts at 0.6 of an amp. And that's good. It's actually CUL US listed. So that's great for Canadian and US applications. Okay, so a decent looking power supply. And let's take a look at the actual device here. So it's nice and light, doesn't weigh a lot. Okay, so on the back of the device, what do we have? We have a reset button here. We have the actual label. So it takes an input of 600 milliamps. And I'm thinking there's a few screws under here, because I can't feel any though. It says removal of this label will void warranties. So usually they put that when there's some screws under there, but we'll see. Okay, and then here are some of the switches. So this looks like it's maybe the microphone, I'm guessing. And then there's a switch here. Let's see what the switch feels like. Not bad. So it's a 3-position switch. It has possibly an eye, a running guy, and then a gear, I'm assuming for setup mode maybe. There's a light here, probably a multicolor light. Then it looks like that's just the on-off switch. Yeah, it looks like a power indication. I won't push it now because it might be charged up and I'm not sure what it's going to do. Okay, actually this is probably the microphone. This is maybe just some ear vents here. So microphone, I'm assuming. This is the camera, obviously. And then on this side we have the Zetta Z12. Okay, so it's the Z12, but I guess I'm not sure what, unless maybe that's not X11, maybe that's part of the logo. I'm not sure. Okay, so, or maybe this is just a molded case, and that's maybe just a generic molded case. Okay, so we have an SD slot here, and then we have the, what I'm assuming is the power and possibly data jack, but for sure power jack. Okay, and we have two more of these little notches here. So maybe these notches are just for ventilation or just for looks, and nothing on the top. Okay, so that's the device. Let's hook this up and see what it does. Okay, so we have it plugged into its power supply here, and we can see the red flashing light. So that indicates that it's charging. It takes about 4 hours to charge for the first time. And here's some information about the actual device itself. So there is a widget that you would run, and we'll load this up on the computer later and take a look at this. This widget will allow you to set up some of the various items on here. And when you connect it up to the computer, it'll look like a mass storage device. So you can just take a look at your videos and double click them to play them, drag and drop them to move them around. So that's nice and user friendly. And this is awesome. There's some firmware upgrades that you can actually get from the Zetta.com.hk site. So if they come up with a bug fix or just some feature enhancements, you can just go ahead and grab that. And as far as features go, there is actually more features that on this device than what shows on the box. So we saw the circular recording, which does exactly what we thought here. So it's a loop recording, and it basically overwrites recordings once the card is full. So what I'm assuming that means is basically instead of one massive recording, when it's in the circular mode, it probably records 10 or 15 minute videos, and basically once it's full, the oldest video will be erased, and then a new one will be created, and it'll just continue to do that. There's time stamping. So here's the vibration, timer recording, motion trigger recording. This one I didn't know about, which is voice trigger recording. So you could set that up in, let's say, a shop or something where somebody's coming up to a counter and going to pay, and you only want to record it when there's somebody talking. So voice would be really good for that. And there's a bunch of different options here. Orientation is a nice one. So a lot of camcorders these days, if you flip it to the side. Or even a lot of the smart cameras, if you hold them upside down or sideways, they'll automatically save the file correctly, so that when you're playing it back on a computer, you're not seeing this sideways or upside down video like you would in the old days. Selectable resolution. So here we go. We have 640 by 480 is the maximum resolution. But then we also have, if you want to do something longer, we have 320 by 240, which is a QVGA, otherwise known as a quarter VGA. What else do we have here? Frame rate adjust. Doesn't say what it is, but I'm assuming that's probably, it's probably recording in 30 frames a second right now. But like a lot of surveillance systems, they might lower that down to, 2, 3, 4 frames a second for, just for extending the range of the card itself. And wow, this thing supports 64 gigabyte cards, so that's quite amazing. That's a humongous card. Okay, so it's been charging for probably about an hour. They recommend 4, but it'll get a full charge later on. There's a button on the side here. See if we can get some light on there. So right there's a button. That's the only button on the unit. There's a slide switch here for some other options. And so right now it's in the I mode, which I believe will allow it to record immediately as soon as we power it on. And to turn it on, you just hold this button here for 2 seconds, and it should record. So I'm just going to hold it about where the camera is here, and I'm going to push the button. And so now it should be recording, and I can see the green light flashing, so it is. So this should be recording something very similar to what we're seeing here. So this is the camcorder, and this one here is the little camera. I'm sure there's going to be a big difference in quality, since this one is VGA as opposed to high def on this one here. Okay, so I'm going to hold it for 2 more seconds and that should shut it off. Okay, so it's off now. Let's take a look and see what this video footage looks like. Okay, so here is the Spytech site. This is the main page for this device, and we can scroll through. They have their own video about it. They have some information about this device here, and when you plug the device in, so this device is now, so you can see here, this connection here goes over to the computer. As soon as you plug it in, it sees it as a drive, and that's what we're looking at right here. And here's 3 files that were recorded with this, and I'm not going to include it in the video. I'll just play it here. It is VGA, so it is, it's not HD, but it is good for what we're expecting here, which is some security camera like footage. I'll just play this little clip. This should be recording something very similar to what we're seeing here. So this is the camcorder, and this one here is the little camera. I'm sure there's going to be a big difference in quality, since this one is VGA as opposed to high def on this one here. Okay, so I'm going to hold it for 2 more seconds and that should shut. There we go. And I was holding it for 2 seconds as it shut off, which is what we expect. That's why the end of that video got cut off. And I'll show you the widget here on the computer screen, and this will basically give you an idea of what can be configured. So it sees that the DVR is connected here. Let me zoom in a bit more on the widget itself. So right here it shows you that the DVR is connected. This was red when it wasn't. It gives you the option here. You can set the date and time. So right now it's just configured for the PC date and time, or if you wanted something different, you could set something different. And in the settings, this is where it goes through, and you can set it up for car security, driving recording, and car security. And it gives you a little description of what they are here. So car security, for example, when it's connected to the cigarette lighter, it'll automatically start. So generally, and also when you have vibration, it'll start for auto theft mode. So there's a bunch of different options here which use different sensors within the camera for what you might like. Here's standard motion trigger security, used for shops and homes. Starts recording once motion is detected, and of course it saves memory because of that. So let's maybe activate this one here. Okay, when you've activated something, it tells you that they're not in sync. So let's sync it. Okay, so these settings have been saved, and I'm assuming if we scroll down, yeah. So motion trigger has been activated, and we can actually give that a try right now. I'll set this up in a similar position, and as I walk into the frame, it should activate. Okay, so I've just recorded 2 little clips. One automatically records as soon as you set it up, and that's this one here. Okay, so I'm behind the camera. I've just activated it. Okay, and so it records for, I think it's like 10 seconds or so when you first set it up, and that's just basically when it's getting its baseline of what is normal. And then here's the second clip when I sat down in front of it. And the one thing I didn't realize... So let's see if it turned on. I just hopped into the chair in front of the camera, so if motion sensing is working, it should have just turned on. The light doesn't flash. You can probably see here by the flashing lights, it's not flashing. So I look for a bit longer to see if the light's flashing and figure that something's wrong. But I guess it doesn't flash when it's in this mode, so it doesn't tip off people that, hey, you're being filmed and this thing is automatically turned on. So that's an interesting feature. But yeah, as you can see, we've checked out one of these features, and there's lots more. So if you're interested in doing something such as ultra long recording, like the old security tapes, they used to put a VHS tape in, and I think they used to get like 24 hours worth of recording out of them instead of the the standard 6 or 2. You can do that also with one of these. You get 96 hours out of a 32 gigabyte SD card. So it looks like this thing is actually quite feature packed, and there's an options button here. Let's see, options gives you the ability to change language, and then there's a express mode and custom mode. So I'm assuming this is options for this actual widget itself. And when you click on, okay, and it shows you the firmware version here, 1.2.1. Okay, so version 1.2.1 of the model Z12, and then version 1.1.1. I'm assuming that's for the Zetta widget. And when you click on the Zetta logo, it takes you directly to the Zetta site also. And if you're actually on, I've just noticed this last time, if you're on the SpyTech website themselves, they actually have some handy links also right here. So they have the manual, user guide, they have the PC software as well as the Mac software directly on here. Okay, so normally at this point I would take this thing apart, but the guys over at SpyTech have already taken this apart, and they have some good video about the showing the internals of this. And the internals are actually quite simple. So go ahead over to spytechinc.com, and that'll be linked in the description also. To take a look at the inside of this thing. But overall, this thing is a really compact unit here. The audio and video portions are very tiny, so you could actually mount this in anything really, in a Kleenex box, or even behind a wall. Drill a small hole for the audio and video to come out, and with a battery that lasts as long as this one does, you won't have to worry about it very much. But it also takes USB in, so you can just pop USB in there. And the confusion about this X11 here, when I was on the manufacturer's website, it does look like they did have an X11 version, so I'm assuming that the case for this one here, which is the Z12, is identical to the X11, which is why they've just reused these cases. But overall, this is a really handy spy video camera. So if you're in the market, this might be the right thing for you. For more information, go to hackedgadgets.com.